We are so blessed here, aren't we? Yes. I know that maybe was more about spring, but happy fall equinox that's coming tonight. It made me grateful for what's coming our way, even though there might be some cold days ahead. I'm looking forward to exploring and seeing the colors of the leaves changing on our trees and enjoying what's coming for us too as well. So this month, the power of I am, and my talk title, The Miracle of Self-Knowing. I want to start with a quote from our book of the month from Paul Selig. It's called I Am the Word, a guide to consciousness of man's self in a transitioning time. Seems like it was written just for this time, right? It was written years ago, but it's so appropriate. Here's what I'm going to start with. I am now choosing to think only those thoughts which bring me peace and will align me to a higher consciousness. I am doing this easily and through my own intention to know myself as Word. Word I am, Word through this intention, Word I am Word. So, the title of this talk, there's some pretty big words in there, right? And I wanted to kind of break it down for you. And I wanted to start with miracle. Miracle is a highly improbable or extraordinary event, development, or accomplishment that brings very welcome consequences. Can we agree on that? And the world I'd like to live in is that miracles occur every single day. They happen all the time. They happen in our lives all the time. The next word, well, before I go there, what I want to say is of knowing ourselves. This thing about knowing ourselves, self-awareness. By really knowing yourself, that's where you're going to find those miracles. That's where you're going to see those miracles. So the next word that I wanted to go through was radical. Radical, especially of change or action, relates to or affects the fundamental nature of something, far-reaching or thorough. We talk about radical forgiveness. I'm talking about radical self-knowing here. So the power of knowing the I am that I am is both a miracle and radical. So let's dig into the self-knowing part of it, or self-awareness, because you hear those terms kind of interchangeably all the time. First of all, how many of us have heard that term, ignorance is bliss? Yeah? How many of us have been there? Ooh, yeah, right? So it might seem like, well, I'd rather be in that blissful state. But what I'm telling you guys is once you have a moment of self-awareness, of self-knowing, you cannot go back. Sorry. Once you know yourself, once you know what you know, you can't go back. You can try. You can try to dole out things with substances or shopping or whatever it is that keeps you away from feeling your feelings. But you're always open because something within you opened to know who you are and the truth of who you are. Now, I would say that ignorance is bliss could be a way that we're creating our lives. And you know what? It is. The difference is if we're creating from a place of ignorance or not wanting to see the truth, what we're doing is we're creating from our subconscious. That programming that happens to us in our life. not just from 0 to 7 years old, but beyond then, through society, through listening to the news, through, being in an environment. Like I had a work environment where, what happened every day was okay, I'm going to say it, a bitch fest about what was going on in the world. Yes, I said it, Shane. And I had to teach myself to tune that out because I found myself buying into what they were talking about. I didn't want to create my life from that place. We are always creators of our life, whether we're conscious or we're building it from the subconscious. I choose to build it from a conscious place. I choose to build it from a place of life that I really want rather than life that I just kind of get because it's the way it is. So when I talk about awareness, it's about understanding, knowing, and sitting with what you think, what you feel, what you do, what you see, and taking responsibility to sit with all of those things. Well, ignorance is bliss is certainly a lot easier. It just is. But those of us in this room and that are watching online, we don't want to live from that perspective. And that's why we're here. With a community of like-minded people where we have to dig in sometimes and really tell ourselves those eternal, internal truths about what we're thinking. And what we're thinking turns into what we're doing. And what we're doing turns into what we're seeing. So even that slightest opening of ourselves, of being aware, means that we can't put it back in the box. So here we are. I decided that living a self-aware life is both a superpower and a super pain. It just is. I'm being authentic. I'm going through a pain right now. I am. I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. Things are up in my life. And I can either blame others or look within. I can either blame others or expand and grow. I choose growth. I choose expansion, which means I get to sit with it, whether I like it or not. So it's a lifestyle that I choose. To be curious, to be interested in my emotions and feelings so that I have a clear perception of myself. Even within a clear perception of myself, there's still little blind spots that pop up. Because that's just the way it's going to be until we're ready to move on to the next realm. This kind of lifestyle is something where, well, I've gone from here to here, and guess what? I made it. It's not like that. I wish it was. We're work in progress. I've always said I'm a work in progress. We're always doing the best that we can. So, the other spectrum of self-awareness, or let's say the other side of the spectrum of it, is something called self-consciousness. Has anyone in this room ever felt self-conscious about something going on? Yes? Yeah? So self-consciousness leads us to self-judgment. It leads us to discomfort. And these are the moments where it feels like we question our humanity. But I know better. Because I know within our humanity is divinity. I've been talking about that. Within our humanity is our divinity. And when I get triggered or activated, if I'm not grounded in my divinity, my mind can really run the racket. You know, I can buy into what others say. I can buy into what I hear in the news. I can buy into, not living our best life because X, Y, and Z is happening. But no, that's not what I'm here for. I don't think that's what we are here for. That self-consciousness can be a wonderful thing because we're conscious of ourselves, but it also can go too far. And that's what I'm talking about. I want us to say self-aware and self-knowing without getting self-conscious, because that self-consciousness just leads to a lot of judgment of other people and ourselves. So Paul Selig says, when you are in judgment of another for any reason, you distort your perceptions of that person and you step out of the Christ consciousness or divine consciousness. And you move out of love. When you can understand truthfully that frequency of love implies love without any sense of judgment at all, then you begin to move through this in an active way that is experiential to you. A challenge? I know it can be a challenge for me. I know it can be a challenge for all of us. But we talk about love being who we are, not something outside of us, not something that we're seeking. We are love in form. We are love in body. And if we're not loving someone else because we're judging them, then we're not loving ourselves either. So this is a very important point. So self-awareness is typically in the present moment. Self-consciousness is typically about the past and the judgments of what we did or didn't do, what we said or didn't say. So the question is, how do we get better at being self-aware? How do we get better and go deeper with our self-knowing? The first thing we have to do is engage in reflective practices. Now I have a few for you, but you might have your own. Some people might just have to go be with the trees or swim laps in the pool or whatever you do that helps you be self-reflective. The first one I'm going to talk about is one that's just been one of those bugaboos for me in my spiritual life, and that's journaling. Sometimes I can get into it, and sometimes it's the last thing I want to do. But journaling, my friend, it takes all that stuff in our mind, in our head, and it puts it on paper so we can see it. Because what happens when it's just rolling around our brain and rolling around our brain, it feels like it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Sometimes I feel like I deal with something and I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, it's there again. How did that happen? We need to do these practices so that we can move forward and not stay stuck in our heads. The next one is, and by the way, when I say journaling, something that I learned years ago that really serves me is stream of consciousness. I don't worry about if I could read it later. I just write away. And I don't worry if there's commas. Sorry, Linda. Or if it's spelt right. It's just a stream of consciousness. That's the journaling that I'm talking about. The next one is, what do we do here every Sunday at 9:30 in the morning? We meditate. Yes, Rick. And I keep inviting all of you, and a handful of you show up, and that's okay, but it's so important. If you're not doing it here with us, do it on your own, but I invite you to do it here with us because it's that much more powerful. See, meditation is a great place to learn who you are. Because the essence of meditation is awareness. The essence of meditation is awareness. So whether you do it for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 minutes, it is really a practice that will let you know who you are. Try it. I know some people go in and out of practicing it. It's so important. The next way is to pay attention to our feelings. I have decided that my feelings are really a guidepost for me. If I'm not feeling energetic, if I'm feeling sad, if I'm feeling frustrated, it's not about trying to fix on the outside those things that are frustrating me. It's about sitting with those feelings here, right here, and honoring them and loving myself even if I'm feeling angry, even if I'm feeling sad. Because the more we push them away, the more it builds up. That's just the law of attraction, folks. I didn't make that up. The more you put energy on something, the more it grows. You put energy on not having enough, you're going to have more not enoughness. You put energy on gratitude for what you have, and you're going to have more gratitude for what you have, and it's just going to grow. This is the basics. And I don't think that this is just an airy-fairy teaching. It's called science of mind for a reason. It's tried and true, and it works. But we have to work it. We don't get to go into his doctor's office and say, fix me. I mean, you could. But you have to do your own work. We have to do our own work. I have to do my own work. So notice your activations and triggers. These days it's more in vogue to call it activated rather than triggered, but everyone gets what I'm saying either way. I kind of default back to triggers because I can just imagine that there's a little button in me, someone just pushed it. Ooh, am I triggered, right? So when that happens, what I want you to remember and what I want me to remember is a trigger is truly a gift. Because it shows you where you need to heal. It shows you where you need to grow. So some of the most challenging characters in my life have grown me the most. Some of the most challenging times I've had in my life have made me who I am today. It's tricky to know that right in the midst of it, right? It's tricky. But that's why I hang out with people that know the truth. I hang out with people that know that when I'm in a certain way, the truth of who I am is brilliant and bright. That I'm just in the midst of the goo growing. And it happens for all of us. It happens for communities. It's happening right now for the United States. It's happening for the world. So we have to embrace those triggers. So, triggers also act as a mirror. I've said this to a few people in my life. There's nobody out there. There's nobody out there. You're upset? So-and-so said this or did that. There's nobody out there. I'm saying this for myself too. There's nobody out there. The only one that I need to deal with is myself. And how I feel. And what I know. And the truths that I know. And stand firm with that. Stand firm with that spiritual principle that I know works over and over and over. It helps when I ask myself, what's going on? I try to stay from why questions because I feel like those just take me in this loop that never ends. But if I say, what's going on? What's really going on? How do you feel? Where can you give yourself more love? Where can you give yourself more understanding? Where can you grow in knowing yourself more, the truth of who you are? So, like I said earlier, it can be painful to live a self-aware, self-knowing life. But every day, that's what I choose. Can I choose the other? I can. And like I said, you can't put it back in a box. It just doesn't work that way. It takes a lot of effort to hide it, to not know what you already know. And I would say this. As we, I'm not going to say age, mature, we sometimes form habits. And these habits can either grow us or keep us where we're at. So if you find yourself habitually kind of trying to put yourself back in the box, stop it. Just stop it. Stop saying, I can't or I won't or I don't have what I need or I'm not wealthy enough, I'm not healthy enough, I'm whatever it is. Stop saying that to yourself. And know who you really are. Who we really are. The I am that I am. We've said it over and over from here. I am whole. I am healthy. I am wealthy. Whatever we put after I am is our affirmation. It's very rare that I say I am tired. I learned a new way around that. I said I am feeling tired. There's a difference though. I don't want to affirm that which I don't want. And sometimes I need to listen to my body and stop. Sometimes I just don't stop long enough to honor those feelings. And that's what I'm challenging myself to do. Stop. Sit with it. Love it. Love me for where I am. Love my journey. Love my path. And then move forward. Let's go into some prayer time. So as we dive into prayer, let's just take a nice deep breath together. Just breathe in through your heart. Pretend like your heart breathes. Breathe in through your heart. Maybe put your hand on your heart. And then exhale through your heart. And let's do that again. Breathe in through the heart. And exhale through the heart. And that feels so good. It feels so good to breathe from the heart of love. How grateful I am for this technology of prayer, how grateful I am for this philosophy, for this way of living. How grateful I am for this community and everyone that shows up exactly the way they show up. How grateful I am for this beautiful day, bright blue sky, sun, moderate temperature. It's just gorgeous out there. I am grateful for this. I'm most grateful to know that there's only one. It doesn't matter what we call it. Whether we call it God, the way, the force, spirit, oneness, love, energy, light, the divine matrix, Hashem, Adonai. So many names, and yet only one. And this oneness is everywhere. This power presence is everywhere. It's in each leaf that is changing colors and then eventually falling off the tree. It's in the white puffy clouds in the sky. It's in the roots of the tree. It's in the seat that we sit upon. It's simply everywhere, every moment of every day. Omnipotent, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, omniconsciousness. So knowing that is the truth, I know my own oneness. I know that I am the I am. I know that my body stores the cells and atoms of the divine. And every thought, every situation, every challenge, every joy is filled and overflowing with this oneness. And I know the same truth for everybody within earshot of this prayer, whether it's now or listening to this service later. Even if they can't hear the prayer, the energy, the vortex of prayer that we are creating here can't help but affect the planet and our lives. Because it's all energy. The energy of love, the energy of truth, the energy of oneness. So within this energy, I claim and know for each of us in the room that if we're going through physical, emotional challenges, that we're not alone. I also include Jerry and Linda in this prayer, as we've heard that Jerry fell last night and broke his hip. We know that they are held in the oneness of God. They are not alone. This community loves them so. We send them these vibrations of love so they can feel it come and feel it hold them, so they know they don't have to go through this alone. And for anyone that's going through any physical challenge, any emotional challenge, any challenge at all, the same is true. If you have someone that you want to pray for right now, go ahead and say your name either out loud or to yourself and the people that you want prayers for. Go ahead and say that now. This whole community is being held because your prayer is my prayer too. Your prayer is our prayer too. The power and the presence of this prayer, we are not begging, we are knowing, we are affirming that the universe wants nothing but grand things for our lives and for this community. The universe wants to supply us with the riches that are our birthright. Wholeness, health, vibrant relationships, love, abundance. A body temple that serves us and allows us to do what we're here to do, what we're here to be. So I know it's happening now. And for this, I must say how thankful I am for answered prayer. How thankful I am for the prayer requests that are still flowing in off the tip of your tongues. So since we started praying, it actually had begun before we even began, just by walking in this room and having this intention of being with intentional community members that love each other. Even when we love each other. Always now. So I release this into those spiritual laws that only work 100% of the time. 24/7, 365. We let it go. We let ourselves take our hands off that wheel and let God do what God does, provides abundantly. Always unlimited possibilities at our fingertips. That's what I know is happening here. And we release it and we let it go. And with our voice together, we say, and so it is. Amen. Ashe.